meantime, let me introduce myself real quick. So my name is Tiffany Crack. I am the Executive Director of Health Choice Maine and a co-founder of Parents' Rights Maine. I am a state lead and national advocate for Children's Health Defense, Stand for Health Freedom, and a whole bunch of other fantastic organizations that work really hard to try to ensure that parents maintain the right to make their own decisions for their own children. Because what a wild concept that is, right? So Health Choice Maine has been working on school-based health clinics for over 2 years now. We sort of stumbled on it like 2.5 years ago. Because essentially anytime there is a medical freedom or informed consent issue in Maine, that crosses over into our territory. That's our expertise. And so we had noticed that during the COVID lockdowns, there was numerous schools that opened back up after the lockdowns, but with something a little different. More than a dozen school districts used the lockdowns essentially, and they opened fully functioning medical clinics inside of the school, operated by third party, so that when the schools reopened, a lot of parents sent their kids back to school not realizing that there's now a fully functioning medical clinic inside. We started tracking these health centers back then.
Okay.
One of the first things that we noticed right off the bat was that, One of the first things that we noticed right off the bat was that nobody at the state level seemed to either have or want to provide any sort of comprehensive list of these clinics. In fact, a representative of the Maine CDC outright stated that they don't keep any sort of list or track these clinics. The only clinics that they track are the ones that they themselves are funding with a Maine CDC grant that is awarded every so often. So 16 of these clinics are the only ones that they know about. Beyond that, if there's no funding coming to that school, they don't know about it at all.
Oh, God. I'm glad that he's enjoying himself.
Yeah, just a second.
I can draw a better one. Oh, somebody decided to draw something. Now I am.
And it entered into the. Yours gotta be in the middle of it. I've taped it so you can see.
All right.
Somebody's. I'm taping this, but it's so funny.
Usually, these Zoom calls are done a little more privately, but with it being as last minute as it was, we couldn't really do that. So you're going to have to bear with us because we will get rid of them as we need to.
I love it.
All right.
I love kids and I like them in this my basement.
I don't mean, yeah.
This is not going to go well. Why do I have the distinct feeling this isn't going to go well?
All right. So
Hello, all. How are you guys doing? This is Alvin Louie. How are you guys?
Good. How are you, Alvin?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
all right.
Shit.
He's gone.
Good.
I've also locked the meeting, so if any of you, if there's anybody trying to get in.
Hallo mein
they'll
Lieber, hast du ein Wort?
Ja,
Was?
Krater. Krater.
Der Krater. Der Krater.
Yeah, boy.
Der Krater.
Seid ihr noch im Live?
Der Krater.
We're not going to get anywhere.
Krater.
Der Krater.
There you are.
Der gut, Spitzkopf, deine Zeit.
Ugh. That's better.
All right. I think that's it.
Yeah. Let's hope so.
Perfect. Okay, so we sort of knew even then that this was going to become a problem. Even we could not have guessed how quickly it was going to become a problem. So about a year and a half ago, a little over a year ago, I think, we received a phone call from a father who had found a Ziploc baggie full of pills in his daughter's backpack. And upon investigation, these pills had been provided to his daughter by the clinic inside of her school. He had gone in to the school the following school day on a Monday or Tuesday. He went to the office and tried to question the school nurse and the administrators. They did the very typical, we have nothing to do with that. That's the clinic. That's not us. We don't have anything to do with the clinic. So then he goes to the clinic and does the same thing. What are you guys doing to my daughter? What are these pills? What are you giving my daughter? The clinic kicks him out, tells him that they're not going to discuss anything with him, that they cannot discuss treatment with him at all, regardless of the fact that it's his daughter. So he pulls his daughter from school. Within the very next day, he gets a phone call from a social worker demanding that he leave work and meet the social worker at his home. Come to find out, a mandated reporter, they couldn't tell us who, they could only confirm that it was a mandated reporter. We assume that it was likely the clinic, but it could have been the administration at school. A mandated reporter had called CPS, and they exaggerated the situation to the degree that they made it seem like an active hostage situation. Like this social worker thought he was walking in to a father holding his daughter, hostage. So the social worker interrogates the entire family for about 6 hours together and individually. It was so bad that at the end of it, even the social worker was upset and essentially knew that CPS, that the system had been used for retaliation. So we get a phone call from the dad and we start investigating. And what we found was beyond anything I think I've seen, and I've been working in advocacy for a very long time. So not only had this clinic been medicating this child, the clinic had actually been seeing, treating, diagnosing, and medicating this young lady for 3 years without parental knowledge or consent.
Wow.
It started very typically the way things like this often do. A group of this young lady's girlfriends had gotten together, getting back to school after COVID, and they realized there was a clinic, and then this young lady, a bunch of her girlfriends got together and decided they wanted to go get birth control together. They push her to come with them. She, she goes with them because she doesn't want to feel like the odd one out.
All right.
So it starts with oral birth control. These
Right.
young ladies are all given oral birth control, which is a hormonally based birth control, by the way. The following school year, the clinic approaches each of the girls that were on oral birth control and tells them that they need to choose between the Nexplanon birth control implant or an IUD, which I think everybody probably knows what an IUD is, but for anyone that may not, it is a birth control device that is vaginally inserted into the uterus. This is an invasive, often painful, and dangerous outpatient procedure. Okay. In fact, the standard care now for IUD implantation calls for pain medication to be administered, pain medication or a local anesthetic to be administered before putting the IUD in because of how much pain it can cause.
Oh, God.
The young lady in our case, she chose the Nexplanon implant, which is a birth control implant device that goes into your arm. Several of her friends chose the IUD. So now we have 15-year-old girls in public schools getting IUDs put in by themselves without parental knowledge on their lunch break. Just to really clarify what's happening here. And this part in particular, this is actually legal in the state of Maine. It is legal for them to do this in the state of Maine without parental knowledge. So thus far, this clinic has not actually broken any laws, okay, which is mind-boggling. Now, our young lady gets a Nexplanon implant, but the nurse practitioner in the clinic instructs her to continue taking the oral birth control on top of it. She asks the nurse practitioner why, and they just tell her that, oh, we're going to regulate your periods. Well, she was never irregular to begin with. This was not a complaint she'd gone to the clinic with. This was not a problem that she had. This was just the answer she was given. So as most young people do, most adults do, you don't question your doctor. You just, oh, okay, go along with it. And she does. Throughout the year, the clinic is also approaching kids at particular intervals of time and prophylactically offering Plan B pills. So like, oh, prom was this weekend. Are you sure? Here, take one just in case. That kind of prophylactically. So now you have two types of birth control stacked on top of each other. Prophylactic Plan B being given, every so often. By the time this girl starts her senior year, her hormones are wrecked. They are so out of whack that she can't get out of her own way. She is feeling down and she's irritable and she's angry and she's sad and she doesn't know why. So she goes back to the clinic and she tells them this. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm irritable, I'm depressed, I'm sad. I don't know why. I'm short-tempered. Help. Instead of revisiting the fact that they've got this young lady on multiple forms of birth control that would mess with anybody's hormones, instead of referring her to one of the phenomenal counselors that they boast about having, by default, they diagnose her with clinical depression and they prescribe her an SSRI.
Jesus.
Now, here's where they've crossed the legal line.
God damn.
The birth control was not actually illegal. The SSRI is. And I think that's why they did what they did next. Because instead of giving her a prescription or giving her the prescription bottle to take home, instead, they have the prescription filled and delivered to the clinic. And then they keep the bottle at the clinic.
Yeah, no, that's illegal. We'll go to jail if that happens to us, okay?
Yeah. And they start dosing this young lady daily. So on Fridays, where she's going home for the weekend, they give her her pills for the weekend in an unmarked, unlabeled Ziploc bag.
Oh, whoa.
Imagine if there was a little sibling at home that found an unlabeled bag of pills and just thought it was candy or didn't know what it was and accidentally swallowed it. Like, unmarked, these are medical professionals giving a Ziploc baggie of pills, unmarked, unlabeled, to a minor to take home with her. So when the parents find the bag of pills and all of this starts to unravel, and we've investigated this whole thing, the last thing that we found that I never thought, it left our legal team and most of our leadership board speechless, because we have a pharmacy owner on record who owns the private pharmacy just up the road from the school in question. He informed us that just before that clinic opened in that school, they approached him because they wanted to enter into an exclusivity contract. So essentially, they would have a contract with this pharmacy that they would exclusively use him. He would fill the prescriptions would be delivered to the school for the students, etc. But they wanted him to sign a non-disclosure agreement and agree to, instead of filling the prescription under the patient's name and billing it to the patient's insurance, they wanted the medication filled and billed under the grant applicator's name to Maine Care. So this means that even students with private insurance, that wouldn't matter. Their medications would automatically be billed to Maine Care and basically paid for by the taxpayer. Even the ones that have insurance, even the ones that have private insurance, it'll all be funded by the taxpayer.
It's laundering is what it is. It's just not money, it's drugs.
This is Medicaid fraud. This is Medicaid fraud. The purpose is even scarier, however. So their purpose for doing this was to expressly bypass any avenue that a parent might use to see what's being done to their child. So if you pull your insurance billing records, you can see all of the treatments and medications that have been billed to your insurance, whether it's for you, your wife, your child, whoever. They wanted to bypass this so that parents would have no way to find out what was being done in that clinic to their children. We decided to see, we were very interested to see if the clinic itself was also doing this, or if they just wanted the medications filled this way. So we pulled 5 years of this young lady's insurance records, and sure enough, there was not one single entry from this clinic. Not one.
Jeez.
And we know that she had been seen at the clinic at least a few times, right? So we start trying to get her records. I started with her, having her request her own records herself. After that, we went to her parents, did all the paperwork. Her parents requested her records. Again, nothing. We had her PCP, her primary care physician, because she had an actual primary care physician that she saw. We had him try to get her records. Silence. The clinic would not respond to any record request. When we got attorneys involved, they tried to get her records. And at this point, the clinic shut down the request altogether, said that it was suspicious activity, and refused to provide this young lady's medical records to anybody. As we have investigated this situation, there is a never-ending stream of consequence that you find, right? Including things like the electronic medical record system that we have that was shoved down our throats, and we were told that this was for convenience and our safety, so that no matter where you are, you know, if you live in Ellsworth and you get into a car accident in Portland, they can pull up your medical record and they know everything you're on, so that even if you're unconscious, they know how to take care of you, right? Except if nothing is done under the name of the patient, nothing shows up on that patient's electronic medical record. And this was the case for at least the young lady in our case, because as we came to find out, the young lady in question had to have a minor knee surgery throughout, you know, that 3 years. The clinic where she was having her knee surgery done, they did not see any entries from this clinic. They did not know she was on birth control. In fact, they even asked her specifically, and here's one of the other dangers. They asked her specifically if she was on any kind of medication, birth control, whatnot. And she lied and told them no. Not because she was afraid that, you know, her mom would get mad at her for being on birth control, but because she felt bad that she had lied so she could go with her friends, and she was afraid to let her parents down about lying. So she lied to the surgeon and said no, that she wasn't on anything. This gets really dangerous really fast. I mean, there are so many medications that have drug interactions, and everybody in this Zoom call has been a teenager, right? And I am sure, just like myself, everybody in this Zoom call probably made some pretty stupid choices when we were teenagers, right? Like, it's what we do, and it's part of growing up. But it's also the reason that parents are there, is so that we can make those stupid choices without, you know, before it's too late, before we're adults and the consequences are heavier, right? So essentially, what is happening with a lot of these clinics is that safety net that exists for children to grow and make mistakes is being taken away, in a sense. Like, we're starting to expect young teenagers to make increasingly responsible decisions that they are simply not prepared to make. So that is the situation that we have been working on for over the last year. As we've been working on that, we have also been tracking more and more of these health clinics and the development around them. Before we get into that, though, I'll stop briefly, ask if anybody has any questions yet or anything like that so far.
My Zoom meeting is locked.
Hi, Tiffany, it's Alan.
Hi, Alan. How are you?
All right, sorry, I have my camera thing on here. But anyway, can you see me now, somewhat?
Yeah.
So I had one question about when parents do sign up for this health clinic.
This, I'm fried.
There was a snapshot. There was a couple of things I saw like 6 months ago. When they sign up for the health clinic, does that allow the clinic going forward? Is that also consent for the clinic to provide?
Sorry, guys, my Zoom is all locked up, and I'm scared to death to hit refresh because they lock the meeting.
Or are these clinics,
nobody else can get in.
Is that what the clinics are doing, or should they be requiring consent to every time they actually want to treat.
So I can't participate.
Because I was getting
can't unmute
feedback. I was getting
myself.
feedback that
Oh, well.
once they sign it, there's small print and details, basically saying what we feel your child needs best going forward. This is consent.
So
So
for
I
once,
just
I
wanna
have to
put that
just
out there.
listen.
If anybody's heard different or whatever.
Yeah. So, let me switch over to screen share and I can share some of the consent
Did you
forms
put all
with
the
you.
hashtags and Maine and all that stuff on it? It's all right. They would be probably on one of those, the recent thread that
So basically, I
we
just
were
want to
hacking on that
clarify what,
Marxist
if you
for.
sign up for the clinic, what
been a
else
list
are you
in
signing
there.
up for? Or is it signing up for the clinic just in case, and then parents have an additional step for consent, or are they basically waiving consent as soon as they sign up?
Yeah. So once you have filled out that consent paperwork, for most of these clinics, that's it. Once you've consented to treatment for your child can access treatment at that clinic. Now, there are a couple of outliers to that. Calais, I believe, off the top of my head, is a really good one. Calais is the clinic that's in Calais is really cognizant of parental involvement and consent. Not all clinics are. In fact, most, I would argue, so far, are not, but some are. Like the Calais clinic is really phenomenal in that regard. So this is an example of the consent to treat forms that go out in the enrollment packet at the beginning of the
That's
school
about
year.
all I can do. Zoom is turning down my gain all the time.
This so I can see.
They can't hear me, by the way, guys.
Okay, so
I'm locked up in Zoom.
It's
But we
going
can
on.
listen.
I don't think I have my. Going on right now.
if you see this sentence right here at the bottom, this enrollment will be active for the 2021 to
Thank you,
2022
Waz.
school year.
Appreciate that.
So once you've done that initial consent form, that covers that student for the school year.
I guess I wasn't meant to
At
contribute
least for
anymore.
Auburn.
God said
Now,
no.
a lot of these are going to be
Told me
different.
to take
They're
a
going
break
to
from
have
talking.
different, slightly different language that's used. But they all generally follow that framework. And so far, all of the ones that we have seen, they are in the back half of the enrollment packet that parents get at the beginning of the school year. So basically, for a lot of these, by the time you get to this form in that enrollment packet, you're so zoned out filling out forms.
You're very welcome,
that,
BK. You want to keep tuning back into
that,
TNN.
I've actually
Voice of
seen forms
Maine,
that
right?
are half filled out because parents got halfway through it before they even realized what it was because of it being in the last half of the enrollment packet. I'm not gonna suggest intent there, but it's one of the reasons we always encourage parents to really pay attention when they're going through those packets.
I brought it up because talking with parents that even are, let's say, supportive of this, they have no idea that they're signing consent for further treatment. They think they're signing up for a clinic, and then if they want to treat them, they get to consent again or consent again, and that doesn't seem like the.
No, for most of these, it's not. You fill out the paperwork once, and that covers them. Some of the clinics, it covers them for the school year. We've had other clinics where they seem to be using it in an indefinite manner. Like the clinic in question, with our young lady that was being medicated, they only had consent forms for one of the very first year that she went back after COVID. So her sophomore year, her parents had accidentally signed the consent forms thinking it was the school nurse form, right? That was it. They had never signed another consent form the other 2 years. So some of these clinics are at least trying to use these indefinite for the child's duration at that school.
We're still there. Everybody's moving.
Back to Obsidian.
There we go. Sorry it's so white and washed out. My Zoom locked up.
Everything that you see right now will be up on our website here soon.
I'm not a
What's
parent, so it's
done
probably
is
appropriate I sit on the sidelines. God works in mysterious ways, guys.
All of the locations where there is a school-based health center.
Uh-oh. Oh, no. Okay, guys. Looks like I got technical difficulties, and it crashed. Oh, let me see if I can get back in. Hang on. See if I can salvage this. I may not be able to. I'll be disappointed if I don't. To be honest with you. Zoom. Let's go back to, where is it? Don't panic. Nope, no need to panic. Nope, panicking. Let me see. Where do we go from here? Unquire sent it to me. There he is. All right. God, this is so frustrating. Let me see if I can get back in. Close this down. Meeting ID. Passcode. Hang on. We're on, but we're not in.
Ray's stepping down before Christmas, supposedly.
Well, we're locked out. That's disappointing. That's very, very, very disappointing, guys. So, yeah, we blew it. My computer, the Zoom meeting locked up, and it was hanging in there for a while. And then I went to go check the volume and settings, and she locked up. And since the host locked the meeting because people were drawing penises in the beginning and laughing, and we were hearing Nazi Germans making speeches. Yeah, it was really bad. They bombed it pretty bad. So I'm very disappointed that that happened, and I'm sorry. I apologize for that, guys. It was going. Yeah, it's no. I've heard it's very stable, which is why usually everybody uses it. And so I don't know, man. It was like everything was fine. I was sitting there and I had an icon there, and I couldn't stand it. I hit the camera button and the settings button, and it just went, and it went into a death spiral. So yeah, I don't know. And because of the harassment, like I said, they locked the meeting. So that kind of sucks. And I don't think there's going to be anything we're going to be able to do about it, unfortunately. So, god darn. All right, we're only into it 33 minutes. I don't know. What do you want to do? I think it's pretty much time. I mean, shut it down. Yeah, we don't have anything more for you guys. I'm sorry. I can't get back in. And I'm not really into switching gears right now and trying to, force one out. So let's just call it a day and go. For some reason, we weren't supposed to be there, and we got some exposure. Go if you're a parent, right? This just to wrap it up, okay? I mean, what they're doing is, it would be on their site. Yeah, I don't have that. You give me a link for that, I can get back. Yeah, it's locked now, Richard. Anyway, I mean, this gender affirming care thing, okay? What this is all about is they're putting a clinic actually in a school. Am I right, Richard? This is what's happening, right? And this is wicked and nefarious. It's evil. It's part of a conspiracy to essentially separate your children from you, parents in Maine, and without your consent, essentially effeminize or masculinize your children. And it's wicked and it's evil. Let me, Richard, can you provide the information to Katrina on that and post it in the chat, and we'll keep going until we get that up there so that folks can get involved as much as possible, right? Yeah, my mic volume is lower than usual. Hang on. Let me see now. See, it's fine now. No, it's not. It keeps dropping. I don't know. It's the Zoom workplace. I got to close it. Hang on. It's taking control. It's awful. Low. See, that's still doing it. Gonna have to reboot. Anyway, that's better right now. But yeah, it's gremlins, man. It's like it keeps dropping. See it? See the way that drops? And then it just drops this little bar here. Turn it all the way up. And then it goes back down. See? Right there. So it's like there's all these things that maybe it's control. Maybe it's your Video Ninja. It's annoying as hell. See the links I have to go to? Hello. It's still doing it. All right. Well, that's why we just got to go. But anyway, yeah, emasculation is the word, Richard. That's what they're doing to the boys. And because they don't want men. They don't want strong men. Right? And there's a war against men. I can't go too high, see? It'll spank me. But yeah, there is a war against men. And I aim to help fix it. I don't know why I'm called to do this, right? But the thing about the kids really pisses me off. And I guess it's because I lost both of my children due to these culture wars. Exactly. Okay? Both my kids support all this shit. And my second one that I had for 4 years that I sent to a Christian conservative college, okay, wound up cutting off all her hair, dyeing it purple or pink or some shit, and changing all her pronouns, right? So, yeah, it is, and it's part of the Marxist movement. You're absolutely right. There's no doubt about it. It's all part of a larger picture and what they're doing. So, we have to continue to fight it, and in order to fight it, we need to expose it, which was what I was trying to do today until we were rudely interrupted by fate, I guess, and technical problems and Satan or whatever you want to call it. So it's a constant battle every day to continue to do the right thing. So I'm going to redeem the time right now. I'm going to go feed my wife because she's probably starving, and I am too. And so then I'm going to work on my book and wrap this up and pray for me to finish this and push this damn thing over the finish line, right? I announced kind of it prematurely a little bit last week it was done. And, of course, everything comes against me, and, plus also the spirit of lethargy can set in upon us. So pray that I get that done. And we, huh?
Morgan was trying to get you back on. I guess it's not working.
Oh, she was?
It's unlocked.
Oh, she unlocked it? All right, let me see. Let me go. Let me try. Oh, hey, we're back.
The money coming into this is insane. If you see the documents on my screen, then you'll see I've got the layouts for these models that are being used. This includes the funding model, how much funding is coming from grants. I keep hearing the claim that these clinics are meant to be additional support for, underprivileged youth or disadvantaged youth that maybe don't have access to healthcare, that they can't afford healthcare, which I would be able to understand that if
All right, praise God, we're
these
back in,
clinics
baby.
were
We're rolling.
sliding scale or free, right?
Yay!
They're not, however. Most of these clinics are all billing revenue services. And the billing services, billing for services makes up almost 80% of their funding. The state itself has over 30 clinics already operating in the state of Maine right now. They have been very clear about their goal to open 12 to 15 new sites. This was within the next next couple of years. We're already a year into that. As citizens in general that live in a school district, that really begs the question of when the grant money runs out, who picks up that slack, right? Because that still leaves 20+% of funding that will go away at some point. When it does, who bears the burden of that cost? That's a really important question for communities to be asking right now. So this right here is where we start getting into what they're doing with these clinics. Does anybody have any questions or comments so far?
So I think I think those of us who are on this stream will know that this is just the beginning when it comes to the birth control and things. Once these clinics are established and the community schools are everywhere, and this is happening in all 50 states, obviously certain states like Maine are further along, it's really going to be extending it to transgender drugs, surgeries, recommended, they can refer it out because they're all going to use the same excuse that they use to get the birth control and these things in: privacy, student consent, it's healthcare, it's life-saving healthcare. It's all going to be the same thing. And so they will quickly move on to the all the transgender treatments and things without parental consent. They're just going to simply, and the school counselors and all those things it's just the same thing. The parents are unsafe and abusive, and the schools need to step in. It's the reason why they can keep secrets from parents. It's the same reason why there's that transgender trafficking bill that was passed this past year. So all of this, really, the long game for all of this was these clinics. And everybody, when they're talking to people about this, really need to say, it doesn't matter what it is today, as horrible as it is, and Tiff has done a great job of explaining all the ins and outs and the scams and the grants and all those things. But this is just the beginning. The long game has always been to separate children from parents. And these clinics have always been that long game, and now we're seeing it.
The clinics are definitely a really important step towards the ultimate goal.
Yes.
As far as gender treatments, one of the things that our board of leaders and I have noticed over the last couple of years, and we've done everything we can to stay out of the actual gender debate because it's not our area of expertise. Informed consent and medical freedom is. Our sort of enshrined value is to keep the choice with the parents. Right or wrong about medical decisions themselves are sort of not it's not my right any more than it is the federal government's to get in your business and decide what's best for your child.
I can't figure out why the mic keeps turning down, so I apologize.
there's an interesting thing that we've noticed with gender coming up again and again. And I think honestly, when there was the meeting on October 29th at Johnson Hall to discuss this particular clinic in MSAD 11, one of the things that we noticed was that the supporters of this clinic, they were also focusing on gender. And in fact, used that to sort of bypass and silence any actual question or issue that a parent may have by focusing on gender.
Yes. Yeah, we fought these bills across all my organization, Courage is a Habit, has fought these bills all across the country. So yes, that's all. It's going to be the focus.
The gender treatments themselves, the whole framework for gender care is actually eerily similar to the same framework that was used to push and remove vaccine liability and choice.
That's right.
We've tracked the pattern. We saw the pattern very early on, including using the schools. There's some really important lawsuits working at the federal level right now that are going to go a long way towards dictating gender care, far bigger implications than what a legislature can even have. It's going to go a long way towards deciding liability for these drugs, and what and when the schools offer anything, it will be based on the outcomes of what's determined liably. A school is not going to offer, a school clinic is not going to offer, a hospital in general is not going to offer a drug if it proves to be, disadvantageous to their wallet, so to speak. The gender debate regarding parental rights can be an important debate because, again, while yes, I understand the argument is that parents are unsafe, it's a small minority of parents that are unsafe. In fact, I was raised by parents that were unsafe. It's a very small minority, and it's frankly inappropriate to use that to try to paint the entire broad spectrum that are parents.
That's
the ultimate
what
goal
they're going to
here
do, though.
are the parental rights.
But that's what they're going to do. They're saying
that is
if a
what they're
parent-
going for, are the parental rights. If they
Right.
have to use the gender debate as a distraction to ramrod stuff through, they will. Because
Right.
unfortunately, it's a efficient and effective distraction. It gets everybody talking about trans rights and homophobia instead of talking about the fact that MSAD 11 is about to open its doors to a hospital and give them open, unfettered access to your child with no even written contract that dictates any terms of service, lease length agreements, or liability protections, right? Like, that is a massive issue. But as long as parents are arguing over gender care and trans rights, they don't even have to address the actual issues of what they're doing. They
Right.
can use that argument to just shut everybody down and do what they want to do, which is what they've effectively been doing for years.
They're going to label parents unsafe and abusive. All the parents have to do is say, I don't agree with pronouns. I don't agree with the transgender drugs. And then the parents will be unsafe and abusive. And that's
right.
how they're going to use these clinics to provide the drugs.
And in that regard, I mean, honestly, for those in the meeting that don't know, my son, who is 16 years old now, when he was 3, he almost died. He was given a series of catch-up vaccinations, and within an hour, he was hospitalized with an encephalopathy.
Jesus.
Wow.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Back then, this was 13 years ago, you never realize how quick the medical industry will slam its door in your face until it happens, until you become what is not supposed to exist. And, even back then, talking to doctors, the minute they would be kind and compassionate and ready to help us, until I brought up that this happened within an hour of immunization. And it was like a light switch switched off, and they went cold.
Shut
and they
down.
looked at me
Yep.
like I was an idiot, and they could
Yep.
not wait to get us out of their office.
Get the
right?
hell out of here, right?
When it comes
Terrible.
to being called unsafe and dumb, stupid, anti-science, the mother who wants her child to die because I was unwilling to give them any more any more shots until someone could explain to me why the ones we gave him did what it did. You know, a lot of parents have been labeled unsafe for a litany of reasons for a very long time. And you're right, the gender debate is just the newest way that they are trying to paint parents as particularly unsafe, right? Maine, you stumbled on a good point earlier about Maine being farther along. I've been calling Maine for a while now the only true canary in the coal mine. And this is the reason, right? Maine may be a very politically liberal state at the moment. And most of the time when you think of Democrat power areas, you think of California or New York. But that's what makes Maine unique, right? We expect things like this from California and New York. Maine itself, if Maine can be taken over, any state can. And what we found as we started digging into all of this, because in particular, I wanted to see the actual policy and legislative actions that got us to where we were. And what I found was rather shocking, actually. I did not expect as much of this to go back to even Republican administrations. Like a lot of this actually started under LePage, and it was stuff that was done with the best of intentions, right? And it laid the groundwork and created the framework that has allowed the powers that be to do what they've done. The Community Schools Act in Maine was passed in 2015. And ironically, we cannot find any sort of record for that bill to see who even voted on it. So
when they sell these to parents in terms of academics
me
and
out when
keeping
my
them in
screen
school,
over is
school
changing. I
longer,
think
and
it's
it's going to
me.
reduce absenteeism.
It's weird.
We know that parents complain about how much time their kids are being given slips to go see the counselor, slips being able to stay home after they've been diagnosed with depression. So the argument that it's going to save class time, that really doesn't hold up. And I'm sure there's statistics and data that can show it. But that's big feedback from a lot of parents who supported the health center, who supported signing them up, but they didn't realize their child would be given a slip that basically gives them the authority to say when they get to stay home, when they see a social worker, when they see a counselor. So the actual class time loss is probably more per student with a clinic than it is without.
well, if you think about it, the argument in and of itself is it's about as big government as it gets, right? It's not even about missed class time so much as it is about missing work. Originally, one of the big key components that they were pushing these clinics on was, why should you have to miss work? You don't need to miss work to deal with your kid. Just let us do it. And then you don't have to miss work, and your kid doesn't have to miss school, and you don't have to deal with your kid, and we'll just do it for you. As a parent, I would be absolutely insulted if someone suggested such things to me, like I shouldn't have to bother with the kids that I had and raised and took care of, right? It's the convenience, like Alan said, is absolutely something that they're using to sell it. Finances are the other. The idea that there are all of these kids all over Maine that don't have insurance or don't have access to healthcare. The fact of the matter, in all actuality, is if Maine has done anything well over the years, it's been ensuring that families have access to insurance and healthcare. In fact, right now, at this moment, there are less than 5% of children in the state of Maine that do not have insurance coverage. Of the 5% that don't have insurance coverage, most of those qualify. They've just not been enrolled. There are over 400 working pediatricians in the state of Maine. Almost every single hospital has some sort of low income or no income program. In fact, if they receive federal funding, they're required to offer free and reduced services millions of dollars worth of free and reduced services. If there's one thing that Maine did well, it was ensuring that children had solid health care.
Yeah,
So
Chloe Cole would be a
honestly,
good one.
when they talk about all of these underprivileged youth, that's
We get
honestly
some more
kind of an
coffee.
insult to all of the people that worked really hard to make sure
You
that
okay, honey?
children in Maine had access to insurance and healthcare. The talking points don't change, even in the other states that we've taken a look at this in. The talking points never change. It's always about convenience, you missing work, child missing school. It's about underprivileged youth, that, you know, families that don't have access to healthcare. And then unsafe parents, the parents that, you know, these mythical parents that are going to beat their children if their 16-year-old wants birth control, apparently, right? But again, we have systems for those children. Like, we have systems that are set up to catch the children that do have dangerous parents. So again, these clinics are not addressing a problem that we have. In
Timmy,
addition to that,
I think that's really important to talk the system, because we have board members who have access to ask Health Reach direct questions. So in terms of the systems already set up, you're talking about if they feel like parents are harmful, so they have to treat a kid without their notification or knowledge, then they should be mandatory reporting, correct?
yes, yes,
Okay, so I think a decent question to Health Reach is, you're admitting you're treating kids without parental consent or knowledge because they are dangerous to their child. Why are you, as mandatory reporters, not mandatory reporting?
right.
And if they want to
Hospitals
start
actually spend a
mandatory,
lot of money too in training certain physicians to be what they call abuse experts. So, you know, we have systems for all of these things. As far as detractments, in addition to everything that we've talked about so far, there's also the problem with regulation. When you think of a school nurse, most school nurses they're really important positions in the school, right? Like, the school nurse is a really important position. I can even remember my school nurse from elementary school growing up and the effect she had on me. I still remember to this day things that she taught me that nobody else could, right? But those school nurses are in positions that are heavily regulated. I mean, a school nurse needs like 5 pounds of paperwork to give your child an ibuprofen, right? And yet, the school-based health centers are being opened inside of schools with no sort of special oversight or regulation. In fact, they operate as just part of the hospital license that they are run by. Fully
you're
functioning
right.
medical clinics with unfettered access to children that have no sort of special regulation or oversight. And if it's attached to the hospital license, that deters actual accountability as well, because nobody is going to pull a hospital's license for something that happened at a school clinic, right? So even if there's this idea that there should be clinics in schools, let's pretend that that's just a fact. There should be clinics in schools. The regulation is not catching up to the advancement of these facilities. There is not one aspect of life that I can think of that doesn't have its own bureaucratic office and set of statutory codes, right?
Big tech, maybe.
And yet we're giving medical professionals unfettered access to children without parents present, and there's no set of standards or guidelines or oversight or regulation for this.
And it's a for-profit private company, right? You just said it's a for-profit private company coming in unfettered access to other people's children for full service. And once you sign them up because they said they'll take care of dental, you've consented to full clinical medical health care for the school year.
Yes. And for some of
I
these beyond the school year.
do not know that.
Yeah, for some of these, it's the school year and beyond. Bare minimum regulation is required, and it's not keeping up with the advancement. In the bigger picture, I absolutely agree. Natasha in the chat just said there's no reason why these clinics shouldn't follow the same type of procedures that the school nurse has. I absolutely agree. And even in the best of circumstances, the clinic in question that we were dealing with, the nurse practitioner that was running that clinic, from everything that we were able to tell, this was potentially one of her first positions. Like, this was one of her first jobs after obtaining her license. And there's nothing wrong with a new healthcare professional, but there is something to be said about experience as well. And
What if you wrote a sample policy? Because at this point, they haven't even floored a policy. They haven't done anything. They just put it on the full board to say, hey, we may vote on this without
Right.
any official public proceeding. But
right.
what if you like added that to a sample policy in terms of having to follow regulations, blah, blah, blah. But that may seem like something constructive board members could do if they had their own sample policy saying, and try to provoke the policy process.
Yeah.
I'm just,
to a degree, this needs to be done at the state level. And in fact, there is a small group of people that, there's a few of us across several states that have gotten together and have been working on draft legislation that'll be introduced in all of our states to try to create a structure of sorts, to try to create some framework for oversight for these clinics. There absolutely, in my opinion, needs to be a licensing process just for clinics. I mean, in the state of Maine right now, a grandparent can't technically provide childcare for 3 of their grandchildren without a state license. So, the argument that these clinics don't need their own license is sort of a moot point at this point. I absolutely think there needs to be a licensing process for these clinics. And then I absolutely think that there needs to be some type of state structured requirement for these clinics that will allow that in itself would give resources to school boards that are voting to put these clinics in their districts. It'll give them guidelines to go by. When we reached out, we had someone reach out to the chair of the board for MSAD 11 requesting copies of written copies of the proposal that Health Reach had pitched, as well as a copy of the draft for the contract that the 2 parties would enter into. We were informed that there would be no written contract between the school district and the hospital for this clinic. That just as a business person, that blows my mind, right? But even more so to think as a citizen in a school district that our school district that literally contracts things as nominal as the snowplow guy that plows the parking lot has a contract, and yet the hospital coming in and taking up space for the duration of God knows how long to provide God knows what services to students without parents present, even the liability there is left up for question with the absence of a contract. What if a student is given a vaccine or a medication and has an anaphylactic reaction in that clinic? That school district now carries partial liability because there's nothing that states otherwise. There's no insurance requirements set forth by the district. there's no lease terms or agreement. How do the parties, what is the process for if the two parties want to terminate the partnership? What happens if someone gets hurt and the district wants to get rid of the hospital, the clinic? There's nothing set because there's no contract. Like,
Yeah, I think some of the context for the people in the room, right? And I think you brought this up the first Zoom, is that the federal administration has changed over. So it's very likely that since these clinics are 100% federally funded, that with a new administration, they see that their funding could be jeopardized. So if I was them, I would be contacting districts as soon as possible, trying to get my foot in the door, which this looks like it is, because once you get in the door and you start having parents and kids depend on you, I would think it's almost impossible to get them out. That's context. And there's also been activity on the school board in terms of elections that are not going, let's say, in the same direction they're used to. So it really, that's some context in terms of what they're trying to pull off here and why it seems like they're sacrificing norm that every other district and every other district checkboxes, every other district has at least gone through to try to do it somewhat honestly. And this district is just throwing it all to the wind, seemingly like just to get it in the door. Because as soon as what's the big trick is that in government is you create dependency and you're never going to get rid of it because people don't like taking stuff away from people, right? So I see this is very similar. And and board members and I also want to say what the board members' job on the board and some others building relationships with the other board members is different than a lot of other communication and stuff that happens. So a lot of us have to take that into account too. But anyway, I just want to get that context so everybody has more to not think it's normal for a private health medical company to appear on agenda one time and come into the school. That's totally districts across the state haven't done this, and they've been around been around a while, like Tiffany's outlined.
well, that's not actually true. We don't actually know that.
They don't have other policies.
No, we don't actually know how many of the districts that have these clinics. We don't know if or how many have contracts.
Well, I'm talking more about on the policy side. I seem to find policies about the health-based center in districts.
Oh, you mean yeah.
So inside the policy, it would cite or reference maybe a contract, but most go through a policy process and allow the public to have adequate time to inform and participate if they would like to. And if they don't, they don't. But in this case, that hasn't occurred either.
Okay, so with all of the information shared thus far, does anybody have questions so far? So MSAD 11 has proposed a quote unquote possible agenda item to vote on approving this clinic in their district on December 5th, Thursday, December 5th, I believe. Let me just check my calendar. I think it's at 5:30, but let me just check.
Tiffany,
Yeah,
Tiffany, here's my mom. She has something to say.
yeah, absolutely.
We need to start till 6:30.
Man, we got a lively chat
We
going
have
on
a policy, and it's an absolutely stupid
in
one
Zoom.
that there's only 20 minutes allowed.
You're
public
lagging
comments,
so
and you
much,
have to
bitch.
sign up.
I can't hear anything. Please, you're lagging so much. Fix your internet.
I hate rude people.
Damn, Tiff, your forehead is big.
Get rid of that.
Guys, come on now. Don't ruin this.
Get rid of this guy. Get rid of him. Get rid
Tiff,
of
your forehead is
him.
bigger than my dick. What the fuck is this?
eject button.
Yep. That's my bad. I forgot to lock the group back up after we let
Thanks for doing that for me, because we had a lot of people,
Thanks. Oh my god.
a lot of people vibing right now on X. So we're doing a good thing.
oh yeah.
Yeah, we got 609 views on X right now, and it keeps growing. And the chat is very lively today in the Zoom, so I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. I mean, no, it's
Thanks for
honestly,
thanks for doing
I
what
think
thanks for doing
it's
what you're
really
doing.
good to finally see parents, especially the ones that like have had questions or concerns. It's really easy to feel alone, especially when we're all spread out across a state as vastly large as Maine. There may only be a few of us that know one another in our own communities. One of the cool things about my job, though, is I get to see just how many of this there actually are now. And having even just Zoom calls like this, it's one of the best parts about it is you finally get to see that you're not alone, right? That no matter what trolls popping in and thinking that they're being funny, there are more of us than any of you realize. And all it takes is each individual parent or grandparent, or even somebody that's hoping to be a parent someday. It just takes a grain of courage, and you can move mountains with just a grain of courage. There's no power in hopelessness. And that's why they try to keep us divided, keep us in our echo chambers, keep us separated from one another. They want us hopeless, because it's only when we finally give up that it's over.
Tiff, I'd just like to make a quick comment, because I'm not a parent. I don't have a dog in this fight, but I've lost 2 children to the culture wars. And I've been telling my viewers about it while you guys have been talking. And we've started a news network here, the Truth Slinger News Network, and we're trying to cover as much as we can. And we'd like to pitch in any way we can and throw in our resources to help promote, what you're doing, and wherever we can echo your message. And so we would love it if somebody would be able to live stream that, and we can restream that. Would be really, really something, the next meeting or something. So just a thought. But let you know, we will do anything we can to help you.
Well, we appreciate that. And, medical freedom, informed consent is something that Health Choice Maine has been working on for a long time. We've watched a lot of good advocates come and go and burn out. We've watched a lot of bad bills get ramrodded through. It's one of those things that the people really have to understand, that no matter what, it's not a race. Like it's not a race, it's a marathon, and you have to pace yourself, because the power truly lies with the people. And every single step leads to the next, right? So all of the parents, all of the people that knew what was going on in 2019 with LD 798 and didn't help fight because it didn't affect them, or they didn't care, or they didn't agree with us. Well, here we are now, right? And that helped lead the way to where we're at right now. So even if it doesn't affect you right now, like I know a lot of homeschooling parents that are watching everything unfold, but they don't think they need to do anything because it doesn't affect them, but it will. So whether it affects somebody or not, whether you're a parent or not, it doesn't matter. If you're watching, if you're seeing what's happening, you have to engage. Like there is no more time for complacency. There's no more, I'll do it tomorrow. It is now or never. So yeah, it sucks, but Maine really is the only true canary in the coal mine right now. And everything that is happening in Maine is part of the federal administration's model, right? So the Biden administration, their education model is called the whole child model. And it's based on the precipice that there are an infinite amount of things in life that affect a child's ability to learn. And anything that affects a child's ability to learn is jurisdiction of the state. They're starting right out of the gate with the medical rights, mental health rights, socio-emotional rights, and educational rights of the child. To do that, they need as many medical clinics and as many schools as possible. It only goes downhill from there. This is not a new model. This model has surfaced a few times in the last 100 years. It never gets very far because it's not actually effective for, so it's not actually conducive to academics. But this is their goal. In fact, the state of Maine, state officials themselves, they're calling it the cradle to career pipeline. And I'm not even joking. That is their language, not mine.
Yeah, that's the job
So-
of the parent, right?
No matter how alone
She
any
can't
of you
hear me,
feel,
by the way.
you're not.
I'm muted.
Reach out.
About
You
out
know,
of the meeting for a
we
minute.
have been doing this for a long time. We will be doing this for a long time. We're always looking for good people that want to do good work. And yeah. So December 5th, the school board. We are.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm in
Because it's a great
northern, I'm
topic.
a little farther down east. But I will be there on the 5th. They are only allowing 20 minutes for the public to speak. They're planning on
Oh,
breaking
that's
that
bullshit.
up into 2-minute increments. So each speaker will get 2 minutes. They've instructed the board members that the board members are not allowed to converse with the public, which is wild to me. Again, insane. But these are the rules
Oops.
that the board itself has set. I would suggest anybody in MSAD 11, if it's at all possible, you should be there. Even if you don't plan to speak, for sure plan to be there just to show support for the speakers. A display of support can be bigger than you think. If you do plan to speak, if you would like, you are free to reach out. If you want one of us to look over the testimony you plan to give. I always suggest when we help people develop their testimony, practice it in the mirror at least 5-10 times, make sure that you can get it in under 2 minutes. But if you want any of us to take a look at it, please feel free to reach out. You can send it to us via email, put my email in the chat.
Oh, can I jump in here for a second? We're always looking for guests on the show. And Tiff, you're definitely invited to come on Wartime Christianity because I'd really love to talk to you. And additionally, anybody wants to practice those testimonies and they want to do it live and they want to get over their camera fright and, get behind a microphone and try and do that with me, be happy to help.
That sounds like a fantastic idea. And yeah, I would be happy to come and speak and do an interview with you. That would be great. Are you, what did you say that the name of it was?
It's Wartime Christianity, and I'm at Truthslinger X on X, and so you can DM me. And we got the Truthslinger News Network, TNN, and we got a number of different hosts doing podcasts. Matter of fact, Chuck Ellis is in the Zoom meeting with us. He's got a show, and we got 2 or 3 others. And so we're trying to get more and more alternative media programming and get this Maine rising, this voice, this momentum that we have, I think, since the populist mandate that I think we had in the last election. We need to carry that momentum and repeat the same things that happened on a national level. We need to be doing that in Maine. And so that's what we're completely all about supporting. So, you know, anyway, again, we can be involved. We'd be happy to.
Fantastic. No, that sounds great. I would love to join you guys. I'll take a look at the platform.
Hey, Tiff, I have a suggestion or a question. I don't know if it fits in right now, but I was wondering if it might be applicable to this situation to share some of the general tips that we've created for testimonies,
Yeah.
as far as languaging, like you mentioned practicing it, because once you do get up there and you have your 2 minutes, it goes by very, very quickly. So you need to stay on point. But I know you have other suggestions. I didn't know if you wanted to share those now or have people reach out to you.
Yeah, no, that's a really good idea. Also, everybody, just to give a little praise, this is Natasha Suleiman. She was one of my partners and original co-founders of Health Choice Maine. We've been together fighting this fight for a very long time now. She stepped back to take care of her family a while back, but she is still one of Health Choice's original co-founders and the reason that we've accomplished as much as we have.
You're so kind. Thank you, Tiff.
Okay, I
posted the link to our X page in the chat if anybody's interested.
Yep. Before we finish up with the information
Hey,
for the
Tiffany,
board, yeah.
to give you or someone else more time at the mic, we have before had people sign up to speak and go to the mic and try to donate their time back to you, or then pick up and then fall back as if they try to not allow it. Some are taken off surprise and they don't stop you. They just allow you to keep talking. But then, or you hand off what you want heard and that person can continue on. I just want to throw it out there. It's something that's we've done in the past to get more of an expert, more time. And the board's not really prepared for it. So some say we're not going to do it, but some just are like, and they just let you keep going. I don't know if you want to set something like that up or not, but I just want to put it out there. I wouldn't mind doing it. It doesn't matter to me. Just a little bit, just to put it out there.
Yep.
Hey, Colette, it's good to have you in the house.
So real quick, right before we get to the last little bit where I will give you guys information about the board and testimony, and whether for folks that are testifying both in person orally, and even if you do not feel comfortable testifying in person orally, you can still submit testimony to the board members, and you should submit testimony to the board members. In the chat, before we get to that, in the chat, there are a bunch of links that we've posted.
If somebody else streams,
you'll see I posted 2 links.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Follow us at Health Choice Maine if you're interested in continuing on beyond just MSAD 11 and helping us take this on. Sign up for our newsletter at healthchoicemaine.org. The link is in the comments. Everything goes out through the newsletter. We do have a public page on Facebook, which is Health Choice Maine, and on Instagram, which is Health Choice ME, and Health Choice ME on X as well. But everything goes out through the newsletter, even stuff that we can't post on social. It all goes out through the newsletter. Calls to action, upcoming events, important things people need to be aware of, developments across the state, legislative developments, all of that goes out through the newsletter. Anytime there's a bill coming through that affects parental rights or medical freedom, we monitor all incoming bills. We send all of that information out. Everything goes out through the newsletter. So sign up for the newsletter. You can also donate on our website. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. All of those links are on our website, as well as the list of all of the clinics across the state and a whole bunch more information about just all things related. Now, for the board meeting on Friday, I am putting information in the chat right now. These are the emails for each of the board members on the school board for MSAD 11. If you're planning on giving oral testimony on Thursday, make sure you also email a copy to each member of the board. You can either email a copy before the board, like that same day before the board meeting, or later after the board meeting. Just make sure you email a copy on Thursday. That way, that also makes it subject to freedom of access requests and part of the public record. I will unlock the meeting for just a moment, but I'm only going to do it one last time. All right, it's unlocked. Yep, I'm getting to it, Tosh. All right, do we have Patrick? Do we have him back in yet?
I don't see them on.
All right, I'll give him one more minute and then I'm gonna lock it back up.
Well, I was doing too much. Yeah.
All right, there's Olivia. Are we still waiting on Michelle?
They're grouped together.
Okay. All right. In addition to emailing a copy of your testimony to each of the board members, it is considered good manners, I suppose, to also have a paper copy that you can hand out. If you don't have access to a printer, don't worry about it. This isn't that big of a deal. But if you do have a printer and it's not that hard, print out enough copies so that you can have them passed out to each of the board members. If you are not going to testify orally, you should still write a testimony, a written testimony, and email it to the board members. Just one page or less, polite and to the point. Be very respectful. I know that situations like this, it can really incite emotions, right? The last thing that we want, though, is for a really, even understandably upset parent to snap and lose it on a board member. And I say that as somebody with a pretty short fuse myself that's mouthed off to more than a few legislators in my day. Tosh can attest to that. But already going in there, even if it's just a parent with concerns or questions about these clinics, you are already painted with a broad brush by opposition, right? They expect us to be loud, foul-mouthed, crazy, anti-science, delusional, unsafe parents, right? So the best thing you can be is the opposite of what they expect. I've put a list of email addresses for all of the people on the board, the school board. When you give your testimony, your opening statement should always be concise and to the point. Address the chair if you want to, and honorable members of the school board. I'm here today to talk to you about an issue that deeply concerns me, or I'm here today with questions and concerns regarding the proposed clinic, get straight to your point, be clear. Don't speak in hyperbole. Don't exaggerate the situation. We have no idea what services these clinics are going to offer yet. So don't go down the rabbit hole into gender and vaccination and all of this stuff, because we have no idea the capabilities of the clinic yet. Be concise, to the point. Don't exaggerate. Don't use hyperbole. Ask clear-cut questions or state your clear-cut concerns. Nobody knows your experience better than you, right? So if you are somebody who was hurt at one of these clinics and you want to talk about your story, be clear with it. Natasha, I know I'm missing points here. Help me out.
I think you covered everything. I think keeping it your own experience, if you can, being direct, not using hyperbole, and being as calm as you can. If something has hurt you, of course, or hurt a loved one because of something like this, it's totally okay if you're emotional. That's your own lived experience, and you obviously have your own emotions and feelings about it. But going down into the territory of what we do not know exactly, like Tip said, just makes everybody think we're tinfoil hat wearing weirdos who don't have our children's best interests at heart. So doing what Tip said, just do what she said and you'll be great.
Fantastic. Does anybody have any other questions so far? Oh, also, I want to be very clear. This was listed as a possible agenda item for vote for Thursday. We may all get there and they may never bring it up. That would be fine. That would be best case scenario, because that buys us a little bit more time. It also buys them time to really kind of think about the questions that everybody is emailing and asking them, right? If they do bring it up and you do get to speak, then what you're asking for is up to you. Are you asking them to delay their vote to consider certain questions or issues, and maybe take their time and do this better? Are you asking them to vote no and just outright deny the school board? I cannot tell you what you should ask for. That is up to you guys. It is your absolute right to ask them to do whatever, right? But for sure, open your statement with, I'm here tonight, to ask some questions and urge you to delay this vote or to vote no. Be clear with what you're asking them to do. Not a lot of separation of powers. Yeah, that's a growing theme amongst school districts, honestly. The Superintendent's Association is I'll just put it this way, it's a really, really interesting group of people with some really interesting ideas and powers that have been helping kind of convolute the separation of powers even more. What are we asking the board to do? Okay, I think I just answered that. Does anybody else have any more questions or anything?
I'm gonna mention something, Tip, that I would say if I were able to. I think what I would focus on, seeing as how my kids are now out of the K through 12 system, but as a citizen, the things that would be important to me are the liability questions.
Hey, look, we should be able to go back to the
The liability questions, and the cost, because those are the things that are going to impact the greater community. And these are things, and like you talked about earlier, who has, if the school nurse has, a whole bunch of paperwork to fill out just for one thing, does the school know what the procedures are going to be for the clinic, you know, because what they really don't want to have happen down the line is for this to have an adverse impact on the school. And they should have answers to all of those things because that concerns the community at large. So that's just something I think would be important, is to ask the questions that we know they don't have the answers to.
Yeah. No, I think that that's a really excellent summary of all, you know, the more important points that we've been through tonight. I think probably what I'll do this evening is I will type up a summary of what we discussed on this call and post it to the Health Choice Maine social medias and maybe our website so that everybody has access to it while you're writing your emails or testimony. If anybody else has any questions or anything like that, now's the time. Otherwise, I would encourage everyone to go sign up for our newsletter over at healthchoicemaine.org. Especially
Tiffany?
if, yes.
My son goes to a smaller school over here in Randolph, Pittston. And how does that affect the other tiny schools? Like, are they bringing this clinic into all the schools? And at what age?
So the age brackets are going to go based on state law with the Maine medical minor consent laws. In the state of Maine, there is no overall minor consent allowance. So generally in the state of Maine, minors cannot consent to medical care without parental consent. There are, however, a few exceptions to this law. The first is drug and alcohol counseling. Children of any age can access drug and alcohol counseling without parental knowledge or consent. Reproductive and sexual health care, like birth control, right? Children of any age can access reproductive and sexual health treatment without parental knowledge or consent. The other one is at 16 years old, children can access gender affirming care without parental knowledge.
No.
Those are the only three exceptions for the medical consent laws for the state of Maine so far. Now that can change.
Yeah, I've been
every
really
session, but
advertising
right now,
in the
that's that.
chat
Now,
to
at
get
the age
people
of
on
12,
to do
children
interviews.
per federal HIPAA take over their medical record. And I've certainly seen this misinterpreted as people thinking that means that a child can consent at 12, but that is not the fact. They simply take responsibility of their medical record at 12. And honestly, that portion of the federal HIPAA law was explicitly written in an attempt to basically create a vague framework because so many states have their own laws regarding minor consent, and the federal HIPAA laws needed to be able to account for all of that. So at the age of 12, they take responsibility of their record. Now, as far as the clinics, we've seen them in everything. In fact,
yeah, the parents are wrong and they're not acting in the best interest of the children anymore, right, Jennifer?
Was in Old Town Elementary School. So they're not just targeting high schools, they're absolutely being put in elementary schools as well. It does seem like they are targeting denser districts first. However, we have found really interesting things happening in the districts with the smaller schools as well, like what you're discussing. In fact, Tremont Elementary School is a tiny school. I think they average 90 to 100 kids. Their school board voted and they hired a physician consultant for the school. So they don't have a whole clinic, but for some reason they hired a physician consultant, even though they do have a full-time school nurse. So it's not like they hired a physician consultant instead of a school nurse.
No, that's nefarious.
It was in addition to the school nurse. Things like that are a little harder to track. We're doing our best with what time we have available, but the smaller districts, we are noticing things like that. We found that in quite a few districts where they've hired a physician consultant. Yeah. So does that answer your question or?
Yeah, I'm still worried because I mean I'm good with the school nurse, but I've had some instances with the school itself, and so I don't know who to trust and who to speak to about finding more information on what exactly is going on. And my son has an IEP. He's only 6 at this point, but I still don't trust the school.
Yeah. I can definitely understand the sentiment, unfortunately.
You know, I wanted to just pipe in here real quick again. There's nothing more powerful than the voice of a child, right? It's one thing when we complain and whine and, like you said, run the risk of sounding psycho because we're protective of our children. But a child voice is very, very powerful. I don't know, you've seen testimonials or things where people have got in front of town, city halls, school boards, things like that, just children, out of the voice of babes, as they say. So, again, we have a news network. It's just missed a thought, right?
Rosa, what I was going to
Yeah.
say, if you would like, shoot me an email, Tiffany,
Okay.
Tiffany at Health
Is
Choice
that
Maine.
on? Did you send that through the chat?
I did. I'll do it again.
Okay, must have been way back. That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oops. Shit.
All right. I just sent it in
Okay.
chat again.
Thank you. Copy. Thank you. And I will definitely email you.
Yeah, please do. If anybody else ever has any issues, related issues, Health Choice Maine is one of the only organizations left that still offers individualized advocacy. We can't ever promise that we can fix somebody's whole situation. All we can really promise is that we'll throw everything we have at it and you won't have to do it alone. We've helped thousands of families across the state of Maine with various situations relating to medical issues with their children. So, don't hesitate. You don't have to go through something alone when there are people out there that will help. Otherwise, anybody that needs help or wants their testimony for Thursday reviewed, shoot it through the email. And if anybody has any questions or needs anything, you can reach out through our website or our Facebook or Instagram pages. I'm really, really honored to see so many people turn out tonight to discuss this and to share the information and listen to it and the thoughtful discussion that has followed. And, if there's anything that Health Choice can do to support anybody, we will. We're supposed to be a community, and that's what we've always tried to be. So, we appreciate you guys giving us your time and being here with us. And I hope to see as many of you as possible on Thursday.
All right. Thank you, Tiffany. Yeah, thank you very much. And I appreciate you letting us back in and with all the trolls out there, because we had a lot of people saw it tonight, 722 views tonight. So
Wow.
we did good.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you
And
very
if
much.
anybody's watching from other states, take a look in your own states, because this is happening across the country. All right. Good night, everybody.
All right. We are out of here, guys. Good night. Leave the meeting. Bum, 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 bang. Well, that was fun, guys. So, yeah, I started getting active in the chat over there since it was really active and a lot of people in there, and the meeting was going really well. So, yeah, it's throwing down the merch shop and so people can get Maine Rising merch, right? And we got a bunch of that stuff over there. Plus, we got Santa Trump over there. Yeah, good stuff, man. Good Christmas gear. You want to be doing that. I'm going to see if I can't get a coupon code for tomorrow for Cyber Monday. So, but now I'm going to go get something to eat and then figure out how to finish my book, right? So, we really enjoyed having you all here, and hopefully you got a lot out of that. It's very disturbing, really where we're at in the state of Maine. And Maine has just become a cheat hole since we got here with Marxist ridiculous policies. I mean, just Janet Mills is an absolute train wreck. She's horrible. I hate her with a white hot holy passion. And like I said, anytime, it's like my kids, man, I'm not dealing with the loss of my kids anymore. I kind of dealt with that. Right now I'm fighting for yours. So, well, thank you. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that, Colette. I really do. We're trying to get the voices out there. And so if you can help us and you can support us in any way too, and you happen to have a little extra left after your Christmas shopping, either buy some merch from us or maybe buy us a cup of coffee or something and help us keep this quality Maine programming going on, as well as other, stuff. We don't just do Maine stuff, but we live here, right? So this, I feel like it's my community service. It's my duty, right? To be dedicating a certain portion of programming to Maine because, this is where we're at. And I think that the most effective we are really usually is the closest people that there are to us in our circle. So, it just stands to reason and it makes sense. But I do appreciate those words. We do appreciate that because sometimes we get tired. Sometimes we feel like, you just keep, but you know what? What's great is God has lifted us up and our viewers have lifted us up and in all sorts of ways by, liking and subscribing and sharing and doing all that stuff. So keep getting the word out there and keep following us on X. And remember to hashtag those posts, right? I got a list of hashtags up there. You can see them, right? If you watch our posts, man, there's a few, at least minimum ones you need to be putting on there, like hashtag ME Politics, hashtag Maine, and then, of course, hashtag TNN, hashtag TruthSlinger X, because, I actually typed it in TNN the other day and it came up, and I'm sure it's probably got something to do with TNN Originals. What is that? Turner News. But whatever, so what? It made me feel excited. So, no, put those things out there because as we grow and stuff, and all these people need to be, followed on X and stuff. So, copy those lists and, forward them, put them on your posts. Make sure you're following all those people so we can get hooked up and we can become a force where we're cohesive and not just a bunch of people out here bitching in the, oh, you need a hoodie? Oh, okay, I'll tell you. Let me see. I can post it in the chat. Oh, let me see. Yeah, okay, here we are. I think. Is he? Yeah. Cool. All right, let me see. Here's all my products. Yeah, it's good. We spent a lot of time on it. And I think it's really good. Happy with it. We worked very hard at it. All right, so let me see. See if this will work. It's weird. The chat is supposed to work from OSB and it don't work. All right, there it is. There's the link. So, yeah, go check it out and do some window shopping and do some actual shopping. That would be great. Yep. So exciting. Yeah, we got, and I like we got a number of different lines. We have the hippie chick line. We got the Truth Slinger line, that kind of merch, and the TNN stuff. And then we've got the Maine Rising, right, which we're excited about to be doing. And Pine Tree Patriots. That's some classy stuff right there, the graphics and the logo stuff. We're making real good use of AI, artificial intelligence around here. We're working real hard to try and fight the battle because the battle is large. It needs lots of resources, lots of people. If you got talent, bring it. You got a story, bring it. You can meme, you can draw, you can write, you can whatever. You want to get involved, you don't know shit, you don't know how to do anything, I'll teach you. Okay. I just gave a lesson to Chris Walsh this morning on our program Let's Talk Prayer. We were there for 2 hours. Oh, I did that thing. I hate that. But anyway, we did that and it turned into I had it there and I'm like, teaching him. I taught him all about AI this morning, Grok. Got him generating his own pictures and stories and tweets and all sorts of stuff. So it's pretty cool, man. It's real powerful. And I think everybody should avail themselves to it before it kills us. Might as well enjoy it, right? Use it, be productive. No, seriously, we can turn that damn thing back on itself. I think we're a bunch of smart people out here. We just can do it collectively. God has his hand on us, and this is the way he's doing it. This is a new age ministry, man. This is new age church, guys. This is the way it's at. This is the way it's fought. We come together and we talk about what the hell's going on in the world that affects us that we can do something about, right? And then we figure shit out, and then we go on the attack and we go do something about it. We take our Christianity and we put it into action, right? So that's very, very, very important, right? Okay, very cool. Let me see what that is. What is that? What you got here? Throw that over there. Look at that. Oh, hey. Just toss that right in there. Wow, that worked out good. Might do that more often like that. So very cool. Putting Montana students first. Family, students, educators, leadership directory. Okay. Cool. Well, there's obviously one of the things that we aim to do here is to become a model for other states, but we can also use information from other states to give us ideas, to stimulate things. And let me tell you, this whole AI thing, I'll tell you guys again, it's easy. Like you have the power of programming with your words. That's how easy it is. All you got to do is get in there and go into Grok and prompt it and say, give me a list of all the Christian quotes from all the founding fathers in our country, the United States of America. Bam. It'll do it. It's crazy. It's nuts. So it's awesome for analysis. It's awesome for thinking, right? And we want to be thinking people. So, well, I am grateful as heck that I thought we went crashed and burned when the Zoom meeting crashed. Yep. So, yeah. Look it up for any state, any particular state that you're in. Gotcha. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm telling you, it's just we need to. We just never mobilized real well. We're late to the party, and that's the way Republicans are. We've always been trying to slow the progress down, rather than trying to take back ground. It's time to take back ground, guys. It's time to get aggressive. It's time to get involved. It's time to spend money, resources, time, effort, energy, prayer. Because nobody's going to save this thing but us. It's great that Donald Trump is president of the United States. It is. It's awesome. But it ain't going to fix everything. It's not going to fix everything in your local town. It's going to take us doing something. So any way we can help amplify that and we can help Maine, we are happy to do so. So, yeah, you're very welcome from all of us here. It's not just me that does this and not just Jennifer and I that do this, right? We're just one small part of it. We've got Richard and Zombie Nation and, Unquire is Richard and just a whole host of people, right? Denise, a staunch Saint and OG supporter of the show. It's tons of people that are putting in content, sending me material, giving us ideas. It truly is a project. It's the Truth Slinger project. And so I can't take credit for it all alone, okay? It's God gave it to me. God's in charge of this thing. He's got the direction it goes. I simply just flow with whatever he tells me to do, pretty much. And try not to drive it into the ditch when I grab the wheel back, right? So that's my thing, right? So all the glory to God, right? And let's just get something done and hope it grows and hope more people get involved because it's exciting to be part of this movement. I love it. It's every day, man. It's not just that I'm looking at what's going on a federal level. I'm getting up every day and going on, where can I be involved and what's going on? It's like there's so much stuff going on that I can't really almost keep track of it all. So that's a good place to be, and it's an exciting time to be alive because, again, for once, I think we're going to get to enjoy victories again as Christians instead of a pathetic, slow retreat all the time. I'm tired of retreating, and I hope you are too. So, yeah, we thank you for watching. I'm going to get out of here. I think I'm going to get something to eat. You guys have a blessed day. My name's Truth Slinger. That's Hippie Chick over there. Peace out. Okay, Mooser. Shut the door.